Hello, everybody. And when somebody gets in the stream, can you let me know how the sound is? In the meantime, I will go ahead and set everything up. Okay. Yeah, when somebody joins the stream, just let me know how the sound is. Hopefully we won't have any sound issues or freezing issues this time, as they've been pretty consistent in the last couple of streams. Okay. All right, looks like we have a number of people in here now, so can somebody let me know how the sound is? Good, perfect. All right, we're good to get started then. So what we're going to be doing today is picking out our nominees for the June 2025 Coffee of the Month. And as always, we're going to go through the suggestions that we got on Instagram. If you guys have any suggestions while we're going through this, then go ahead and let us know. We will look at those as well. The coffee that I'm going to be drinking today, I have the box of. It is the Finca El Aguacate. It is a honey processed Ecuadorian coffee from Manta out of Virginia. And this one right here is, yeah, a honey processed Típica Mejorado, which is pretty uncommon. And I have that right here. So cheers to everybody. And when you guys get in here, let me know what you guys are drinking as well. I'm always curious to know what you guys are working with. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I do have somewhat of an idea in the direction that we might go with for this. The first suggestion we did get was from Midnight Salsa, and they suggested cleanest non-washed coffees could be a fun theme. And I'm not entirely sure where to start from that, but it does give us a baseline for when we are looking at coffee roasters and coffees to see if we can find some stuff that is non-washed. And that's a starting point for this theme as well. It's going to be kind of difficult to tell which coffees are going to be cleaner of those non-washed coffees, but it's something that we'll get to at that point. This one's entirely a option for that, as it is a honey processed coffee, and that's probably the best way to go about that, is to pick out honey processed coffees. Next up, we got a suggestion from Zach, and they said decaf robusta. So Zach, I'm going to call you out right here, and I'm going to say, if you're on the stream, then go ahead and suggest 4 decaf robustas to us, and we will go ahead and pick all 4 and make them our nominees if you say within the next couple of minutes. Is Bot's new phase here now? That could be good to review. Drank 2 Septembers this morning. I believe that Bots is coming soon, and I tried reading their message on Instagram. I feel like a lot of people have difficulty reading and discerning what Danny is saying at times. And it seems like, what I understand, it was difficult for them to dial it in to the extent that they were happy with. So they will be releasing those new coffees right now. We can actually go ahead and take a look at that. That's a good opportunity to start sharing some things. Okay. A little cryptic, that's for sure. Okay. Perfect. And great, we're good. Let's go ahead and look it up. Bots Coffee Instagram. I am very interested in trying Bot's new coffee because it should be roasted on the Probat, and a lot of you guys know I'm a big fan of the Probat. So this was the message right here that they had posted, and it's the return of Jobo. Hit a few glitches. So that's kind of what I'm alluding to, is it sounds like they didn't get the profile right at the start, but it's just taken them a while to get this right. So here are the coffees that they are releasing. I would be very interested in both the Kenyan coffee and the Ethiopian coffee. I don't think we've actually reviewed any of their Ethiopian coffees. I might have that wrong. But we definitely reviewed plenty of their pink bourbon coffees. Those seem to be the most common that Bots has. And then this Kenyan sounds pretty good. This La Esmeralda sounds great, but that's typical Danny marketing. He does a very good job of marketing his coffees. Like, that sounds very good. Tropical Skittles, Rolos, just very interesting in that sense. The Rolos is actually very interesting because that sounds like something you had to taste from a Probat roasted coffee. Okay, and we did not get a response from Zach, so I guess we will not be doing decaf Robusta. What a shame. I was looking forward to doing decaf Robusta. All right, Max had 3 suggestions, and he suggested High Banks, Ilse, and Mirror. So we'll go ahead and take a look at High Bank real quick. And I've actually never heard of High Bank, so I'm not too familiar with them. Let's see what they've got. I'll be completely honest off the bat, I don't love the bags, like the bag designs, but we have an Edwin Narenya coffee right over here. Looks like a Colombian Castillo, more Edwin Narenya coffees. Santiago Caro, I'm guessing this is their Chirroso. So I have had good results with the Caro family coffees. So if we were to go with anything along this theme with this coffee roaster, then that's an option. But outside of that, pretty safe selection of coffees outside of the Edwin Narenya, a lot of Colombian coffees, it looks like. Don't know anything about this coffee roaster. Don't even know where they're based out of. All right, Thierry, let's see. The one bag I got from Bots was my favorite ever, but they are not easy to get in Canada. Which coffee was that one? I'm very curious because I've had some good results with Bots. The Juan Pena was great, and I've had some mixed results with them as well. But let's see what we've got. Oh, they're based out of Michigan? They roast on a chopper. Interesting. I don't think we've reviewed a lot of coffees roasted on that. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. So the next one was Ilse. So we'll see what they're offering. By the way, I'm kind of surprised. This coffee from Monta is actually really nice. It's got plenty of those kind of lasting Mejorado characteristics to it, and it's very clean. So I'll be completely honest, when I was brewing this coffee, the beans themselves look a little darker than I was expecting, and I kind of attributed that to it being a honey processed coffee. But it's turning out quite nice. I'm actually very happy with the way that this coffee is turning out for this live stream. Yeah, let's see what Ilse has. Ilse has been pretty heavy on the Mejorados this year from what I remember of them. Looks like they do have Hacienda La Esmeralda, a number of Colombian coffees. We have a Sidra coffee, which we'll get into a little later. Some Pink Bones, Ethiopian Landrace. They have the same Finca Velez coffee that we reviewed from Thankfully earlier this year. And I would be very curious if just for the reason to see how it compares to try out this coffee. I don't know if there is one coffee shop nearby that actually serves Ilse. So if I have some time, I will see about swinging by and seeing if they have this coffee because I would love to give it a shot. As you know, the one that we had from Thankfully wasn't necessarily the best. And I wonder if it was, I actually think it was largely a green issue. So if Ilse has it and we can try it from them, I'd be curious to see how it turns out from their vantage point. I'm drinking Ilse Juan Pena and I just ordered the Sidra. So what do you think of it, Robert? I'm very curious because Juan Pena is one of the best Mejorados. It's one of my favorites consistently. And I'm curious about Ilse's version of it. It doesn't look like they have it anymore. I would have been interested in trying it when they did. Nobody I knew actually ordered it though. Okay, let's see. And then the last one they suggested was Mirror. Oh, out of Bellingham. I've had recent conversations with Mirror actually. So I will say this, Mirror reached out to us very recently. They actually didn't push their coffee on us, which a lot of coffee roasters that do reach out to us want to push samples or want to get us some coffee, but they just wanted to say hi and introduce themselves. So that was really nice of them. I would love to go up to it. I need to recall the conversation because they don't have a coffee shop, if I remember this correctly, and they're in the process of working on one, but they do have a Juan Pena right here. Description, there we go. An anaerobic natural mejorado. I don't think I looked at this when they reached out to us, but in kind of similar fashion to with a lot of coffee roasters, I do recommend that they kind of let us know if there's something that they want to showcase. This right here seems a little heavy, so I don't know if we would necessarily go with this one. It definitely doesn't fit for the theme of cleaner non-washed coffees. Inside of that, we got some Shady Bader coffees. A lot of Colombian coffees right now, but that seems to be very common. Every time I go through a lot of coffee roasters, they have a lot of Colombian coffees. All right, Thierry, I like September's Finca La Concepcion a lot more than what I would have gotten given the level of processing. Very good in my opinion. I don't think I actually looked at that coffee. September, I know, will offer a number of very, I think I misspelled September, yeah. A number of very interesting coffees throughout the year, and wow, I way misspelled September. So oftentimes it's kind of picking and choosing which one of their coffees I'm most interested in trying. Yeah, that does sound kind of interesting. Um, we got all the red notes on there too. They have it listed right in the middle of their clean, funky chart in their terroir experimental. They still have it. Um, yeah, if we're going with that theme, that's actually a pretty decent option for the theme, especially if it does turn out cleaner. Simon, I like Poma. I like Poma New Experimental, but it's sold out, unfortunately, already. I don't know if this is necessarily the theme we're going to go with. We got a lot of other suggestions that we'll kind of discuss when we get to that point. I think a lot of you guys know I like to look at the comments beforehand just so I can get an idea of what direction we might go with for the theme. But I still like to respond to each and every one of these comments individually so we can kind of go through any sort of suggested coffee roasters to us. And then the next suggestion we got was from AJC Delinia, and they suggested Sidra themed. So a lot of you guys know just how much I love Sidra coffees, especially given that I've been working with a number of them over the last couple of days. And yeah, we can see if we could find any Sidra coffees. That's why I mentioned that we will take a look at any of the Sidra coffees that we come across through looking at these coffee roasters. But if you guys don't know, that's actually a joke. I really don't like Sidra coffees that much. I think that there's maybe been no, I honestly can't go back and think of a single Sidra coffee I've had that I've been really impressed with. So we will keep an eye out for Sidra coffees. I would be surprised if we made that our theme. I know a lot of people do tend to enjoy those coffees. I actually had a barista that was a huge fan of them, and they would consistently push their Sidra coffees on me, which I always thought was funny. All right, Kevin VHI suggested rare varietals like Sudan Rume. I've never known how you say that. Obligon, Java, Papayo, etc. So we will definitely keep an eye out for those. I do like reviewing rare varietals in general. In fact, I recently ordered a wash processed Sudan Rume, which I'm very excited about. Any opportunity I get to try out one of these coffees is one that I like to take. But that does remind me, there is a coffee roaster that often carries some interesting varietals from Colombia. I'm thinking about Cofea Circular, Sidra, Finca Cruz. I think we reviewed that coffee. I think it was a number of years ago. I'm going to double check here. I think it's a Sidra WX. I actually had that coffee this morning from Robert Asami. Yeah, we did review the Cofea Circular Sidra WX. It looks like last year. I remember it's because I purchased a number of Gala Morales coffees from Cofea Circular, and that was one of the ones that they had. So that one's already up. Hey, Callie, say sup dog to Maverick for me as well, especially if he's in your vicinity. All right. Let's see here. So Subtext usually has some of these rare varietals, and we are working on a number of Subtext coffees right now, including Francie, the Copa de Oro winner. Having some issues with their website. There we go. Francie Castillo, I believe. Yeah, I got Pink Bourbon. Got a Sidra coffee right here. So if we were to go with the Sidra theme, we got an option right there. So far, nothing to really write down. This would be a good option for cleaner, non-washed coffees as it is processed in some capacity. The whoosh whoosh, I remember that was kind of interesting. Whoosh whoosh still isn't very common. A couple of years ago, it sounded like whoosh whoosh was going to be the next big thing, but I tried a couple of whoosh whoosh coffees, didn't particularly enjoy them, and I feel like maybe that's been the sentiment that whoosh whoosh hasn't been as popular since. So you still see them here and there, but for a varietal that I felt like was going to be a lot bigger than it ended up being, then it really did not. And Victoria also says sup, so sup to you as well. I know you love being called Victoria. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion. We will keep an eye out on those rare varietals. But Kevin also suggested single varietal Kenyan coffees, and I love that theme. I wish it was easier to find those because anytime I do see an SL28, SL34, even the Rirus and Batians, I'm interested in trying out all of those. So we will see what Coffea Circular is currently offering. This is going to be the easiest and best place to always find single varietal Kenyan coffees, as it's been a very big project of theirs for a very long time. We'll take a very quick look at what sort of new releases they do have. So yeah, there you go. I isolated Batian natural. So that's the Ruby Batian, one of the most iconic coffees that we've reviewed on this channel for a number of reasons. It influenced how we brew our coffees in terms of water recipe. So Ruby Batian right there. And it doesn't look like they've released a lot of new Kenyan coffees. We got the Orbo Batian, natural processed Ethiopian coffee. So the thing with Coffea Circular is I've really been wanting to revisit them and review a number of their coffees. And we might go in the theme of European coffee roasters this month to kind of incorporate a lot of the suggestions that we did have. And it's been a while since we've actually featured a European coffee roaster as the coffee of the month. So they have some interesting coffees right here. I would love to review one of their natural Ethiopian coffees. But I'm still curious to see what they have in terms of Kenyan coffees, because that's going to net us some single varietal coffees. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I got so used to their old website that navigating their new website isn't quite as easy for me as the old one was. If you look at it, every single one of their coffees is a single varietal Kenyan coffee. So we got this washed Batian right here, which sounds very nice. That's probably one of the focuses I would have. You have this natural isolated SL28, a number of these actually. I think for right now, we will write down that washed Batian. Although I think we've reviewed it actually. We have not actually. We'll write that down. All right, and Thierry says, to me, the La Concepcion has the flavor of a funky coffee, but that flavor is toned down to match the intensity of cleaner flavors. That sounds promising. There's one coffee I'm working on that has a lot of red qualities, but is still presenting cleaner. I've always said that if you can present those red characteristics in a cleaner sense, then it's actually not that overbearing and it's not that bad. So I've had some cleaner cherry forward coffees, same thing with like raspberry and stuff like that. So it's possible. And if it's done well, then it's very enjoyable, actually. Kevin also suggested some coffees from CC now, Coffee Collective. Let's take a look at what Coffee Collective has. He suggested the Takizi coffees. Does Coffee Collective have their Takizi Gesha right now? That would be pretty interesting. I thought it was usually closer towards Christmas time that they do have the Takizi Gesha. They do have the Takizi Ketwai. I think I need to go back actually at Coffea Circular and try to find something that isn't washed, because I think we kind of want to incorporate that into the theme as well as these non-washed coffees, because we've been pretty heavy on the washed coffees as well. But I've never had the Takizi Ketwai. I've only ever had their Gesha, which is a very popular coffee. I'm going to write them down as well. It sounds like a nice coffee, and it is worth revisiting Coffee Collective. So that's what I was kind of mentioning. We got a number of European coffee roasters as a theme suggestion. So I would really like to focus on that. Let's go ahead and move on. And Kevin suggested Nomad. So once again, have a number of these European coffee roasters. And they said that they have some really nice coffees right now, Peru, Colombia, Tanzania. And I will definitely be looking at that Tanzanian coffee. Hopefully it's not one of the Tanzanians we've previously reviewed. I think it's been long enough since we last made Nomad our coffee of the month that we can probably revisit them as well. And Nomad historically has had some pretty interesting coffees. All right, let's see what we've got. We've got a Rwandan coffee, a Tanzanian. Okay, this one we haven't reviewed. We're definitely writing this down. I'm hoping. Oh, they do have some very interesting coffees. An SL28 Colombian coffee too. Burundi, the Colombian coffee, pretty straightforward. It would be between these two coffees, but I still think that we should try to focus on these Tanzanian coffees given how long somebody's been suggesting Tanzanian coffees to us. So that gives us a couple of options right now. It would be okay to maybe mix the washed coffees with the non-washed coffees in the poll, so that gives people some variety as well. Onyx EU for the Euro theme. You know, we'll take a look at them, and it's funny because we keep trying to get Onyx EU to win one of the Coffee of the Month polls, but it just can't beat its opposition. It's been in some stacked lineups, but even then, it just struggles to win. So we'll take a look at them real quick. And I know you have to do something specific to get to their website. We do that every single time we do this. Because it always will take us to the US website. You kind of have to force it to take you to the European website. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I hope they have some new coffees. I haven't been following them close enough to know when they've released anything new or exciting. All right, let's see what we've got. Still a lot of these same Colombian coffees. Got a Ultra Lasso Sidra, a honey processed one. Pretty expensive too. That's sold out. La Soledad Sidra, the Jose Hijón. Soledad Típica Natural. I don't recall having seen this one here before. I might reach out to Lance and see what new coffees they have, but I will write this down for right now, this Onyx EU, the natural Mejorado. Would you guys be interested in the Onyx EU? Like I say, it's in our polls quite often. They just never seem to win it. Late to the game, what are we thinking? How we right now, we're leaning towards European coffee roasters. We got a number of European coffee roaster suggestions, and we're trying to incorporate a number of themes, Tanzanian coffees. In addition to that, we have cleaner, non-washed coffees. So I'm trying to sprinkle those in as well. It's been a little bit difficult, but I think we have at least something along those themes for each of the coffee roasters we've picked. It's possible that we'll actually be able to get up to 8 European coffee roasters because we still have a number of other European coffee roasters that were suggested to us. So let's go ahead and move on. And Coffee Wizard blog suggested summer vacation, so tropical themes. I think that we've done somewhat of a decent job. A majority of these coffees do have a little bit more of those tropical notes. So in addition to that, that Nomad Tanzanian coffee we were looking at did have some, I think, pineapple characteristics. Simon says Maze Lab maybe. I keep saying I also want to do Maze Lab, but Maze Lab is another one of those coffee roasters that just can't seem to win our polls. I understand that the polls are a little bit of a popularity contest because sometimes people just won't look at which coffees are the ones that we're picking, and they will just look at the coffee roasters. But we'll see what they've got. Bonito. This fits our theme of cleaner, non-washed coffees, a Peruvian Gesha. I will write down Maze Lab as well. If I remember correctly, they're a Czech coffee roaster, and I would love to review more Czech coffee roasters. In fact, I would love to go to Prague and visit some of my family members and review a number of Czech coffee roasters out there. I think only Lance fans really know what Onyx EU is. Maybe some poll voters think it's regular Onyx. That's a very strong chance. Yeah, come to think of it, It's interesting too that we haven't reviewed Onyx for a while and nobody's actually asked for that. But I guess Onyx definitely isn't as popular as it was 10 years ago now at this point. Onyx was very popular once upon a time. And Howie says Coco Bongo. You know, I was thinking about that because I was sure Doc would be a suggestion at some point. We can't do Doc because Coco Bongo was one of our previous coffees of the month. But I'm curious to see what they're offering. If I remember correctly, Airwork should be bringing in Doc this month, which would make it very easy to get some of Doc's coffees. And I'm probably going to pick out a couple here or there. I hope that they still have this coffee specifically. Hopefully I don't ruin it by the time that Airworks does bring them in, because I am dying to try this Mejorado from Doc. It's a long time coming. I can't believe a coffee roaster like Doc that brings in and sources so many coffees has yet to have a Mejorado, but here we finally have one. So if Airworks brings us in, I'm 100% getting that coffee. Oh, hey, look, we do have a Papayo. So those rare varietals that were suggested to us, there's one of them right there. The ahi is still not very common. Ugandan, SL28, SL14. Doc always has an interesting selection. We have a Sudan Rume, a washed Sudan Rume. I might pick that up from them as well. Didn't they say that they brought back Coco Bongo recently? I don't see Coco Bongo. I also didn't look very hard for Coco Bongo. They have the Hatchie coffees. Yeah, whenever we do place this order from Airworks, I'm going to have some really good options from Doc. They have some really good and exciting coffees right now. I'm not going to put them in the poll, but I wanted to take a look at that Papayo coffee real quick. Sounds nice. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. And next up, we have Kevin once again suggesting another coffee roaster. And they said Nupra Coffee from Madrid. They said amazing green. So I'm definitely hoping for some very interesting sounding coffees. And I'll type in Madrid. Just want to make sure we got the right one. Okay, what do we have? There's another whoosh whoosh. We got the El Placer, Immaculata, some pretty heavily processed Colombian coffees. I have a very strong feeling that those won't be the cleanest. Another Sudan Rume. This one says extra lavado, which I know enough Spanish to know that means washed. And Guatemalan, Ethiopian. We got an Indonesian anaerobic Chivas. I would love to review more Chivas coffees. Only hold up on that is that the Chivas is a natural process. And I recently had a Chivas Gesha that I wasn't the biggest fan of. It was natural processed one. It's got that infamous red fruit note. Not gonna lie, I was hoping for something a little bit more unique and exciting from this coffee roaster for my first time ever looking at them, and I knew nothing about them. I mean, the whoosh whoosh is an option, anaerobic washed. I think I'll write them down in the maybe. It does fit with the tropical theme here. Got mango and honey. All right, Connor, playing catch up here, but I suggested the cleanest non-washed idea because I had the anaerobic washed Gesha from September, very clean, total banger. Which one was that, Connor? I'm very curious and I want to take a look at it because anytime I do see September, it's something that I'm just kind of interested in. I get an opportunity to try a lot of their coffees. I get a lot of samples of their coffees, so sometimes I like to see which ones are really good. I've had some really impressive results with some of their samples before, which whenever that happens, it's unfortunate I didn't pick up the coffee for myself. Terry, have you seen Decaf Before Death? Maria in the UK is making the most interesting decaf subscription by far. I think she can make a special box for you if you want to do a bonus decaf video. Well, we'll take a look. Anybody that's seen our decaf reviews knows that I really struggle with decaf. I have never really brewed decaf, and Every time I did, I had pretty poor results as I am terrible at brewing decaf coffees. But yeah, we'll take a look here. So it looks like maybe they just have a subscription for right now. If Zach was here earlier, we were going to do our decaf Robusta set, but Zach just missed out, so no decaf Robusta for our theme this month. It doesn't have a lot of information on there. How have the results been? I need to ask some people that have tried out this service before to let me know how it compares by decaf. I would love to have coffees that aren't good for decaf or aren't good for naturals, but are just good in general. That's usually what I'm looking for. Okay, let's go ahead and move on and see what else we've got. And Vince Lee suggested plot roasting, so we'll definitely take a look at that. There's another European coffee roaster and one that continuously gets recommended to us. I know I've looked at their website and I know I've seen some very interesting coffees from them. I'm hoping that they have something. I know Finca Maputo does a Mejorado. This one's unfortunately a Sidra. But that does go with the non-wash theme right here. It also goes with the Sidra theme. And I completely forgot that they were doing their collaboration right now with Scenery. I've seen that on Scenery's website. If I don't find anything better and more exciting, I will probably write down this Finca Maputo. It fits so many themes. It fits the non-washed theme. It fits the Sidra theme. It fits the European theme. It's a little too perfect, even if it's not ideal for what I would like. I don't believe I've heard of that producer before. I'll take a look at this one real quick. Oh, yeah, now I remember. It was an anaerobic natural. I will say this about Scenery. This is a little bit of a spoiler alert. So I am currently working on 2 of their coffees, and the first impression I had of both of them wasn't overly impressive. However, I went back a second time, and it was basically night and day from the first time and second time I tried them, which is very reassuring given that I was worried I wouldn't like their coffees the second time around as well. But if it continues to go in that direction, I will be very happy with the Scenery coffees that we do have. All right, we'll write down the Sidra from Plot Roasting. All right, let's see. Connor, I had that papaya from Doc, crazy coffee. Really? It sounds like a normal coffee. Crazy in what capacity? Was it really intense or was there just something else to it? Because it sounds very normal, honestly. And Terry says she roasts some decafs and found decaf gesha for the subscription, probably the first decaf gesha. That sounds interesting, and it has a lot of potential too. So I really hope that that decaf gesha could be, if it's as good as a standard wash processed coffee, then that's a win for me. I will take that. Okay, let's see. Next up, we had Skibi695 suggesting I'm still on Tanzanians. Mira has some in the US. So we'll take a look at what Mira is currently offering. I like Tanzanian coffees and I like reviewing Tanzanian coffees. And it's been unfortunate we've struggled to implement them into our polls, but they're still not the most common coffees out there. I do believe Mira follows us on Instagram and they have reached out to us before offering some samples. There's another papaya coffee. Semi-washed. Oh, this one fits well into our theme in a number of ways. I guess we could kind of skew this and say that Mira is supposed to be Nordic themed. So I will also write this one down as a maybe. If we don't find 8 European coffee roasters, then we will fit this papaya in there because that just seems to fit pretty well. Although we were here originally to look at the Tanzanian coffees. Oh, they have the Acacia Hills coffees. And they have the Pacamara, which we've never had before. Okay, Mira actually has some very interesting and exciting coffees right now. I've heard mixed things on them, but I can't say for myself given that I've never actually tried them. Mira is certainly an option here. KNRD888 suggested San Sebastian SL0809, which I'm not entirely sure who else is carrying them right now, but for the record, we did review the San Sebastian SL9 from, who was it? Terraform. So I wonder who else is currently offering it. We'll do a quick Google search. So yeah, we did this one, the Terraform release from Airworks. And there's our review right there, of course. I don't know who else is carrying it, though. I might have to reach out directly and ask if they know who else might be carrying it right now. Yeah, we'll have to reach out directly and ask on that one. Okay. And then Griorli suggested naturals and with a laughing emoji. So, and we've kind of looked into that. We've kind of focused on that theme. We do have at least one natural on this list. I want to say a couple. So it's not out of the question. And then Gary Latter suggested La Cabra. This is actually our last suggestion to us. I can't recall whether or not La Cabra has ever been one of our nominees, actually. We've reviewed a lot of La Cabra coffees. Ethiopian. I really want to find something from La Cabra that we can put in the poll. So something that stands out. It fits with our European theme, and since they were a roaster that was suggested directly to us, and one that it's been a while since we've actually reviewed. Cheeto's an option. I still don't know whether this is a true Typica or if it's a Mejorado, because everything I've ever seen listed on La Cabra's website, even coffees I know to be Mejorados, have been listed as Typicas. So we could possibly write down this Cheeto, although I would maybe look for something that's not just a true washed coffee. Cheeto Sidra.